Welcome to the Agile Engineering Deep Dive. My name is Alessandro Guida, and in this episode, I want to challenge a belief many organizations quietly rely on, that having heroes makes them strong. In many teams, there is always that one person who knows everything and saves the day. At first, it feels efficient. Fires get put out. Delivery continues. But over time, hero cultures create fragility, not resilience. In this episode, we'll look at why organizations that depend on heroes are actually poorly designed systems, and how professional engineering practices, like shared ownership, knowledge flow, and pragmatic pairing, allow teams to scale beyond individuals. This is not an attack on talented people. It's a challenge to the structures that turn professionalism into heroics. If your organization depends on one person to keep things running, the real question is not who that hero is. It's why the system needs one. Let's dive in.
Welcome to the deep dive. You came to us with a whole stack of material on organizational health, especially in really technical fields like software engineering.
Right.
And you are asking us to really get to the bottom of this foundational difference between relying on those exceptional people, the rock stars, and building systems that are truly resilient.
And this is one of those deep dives where the sources, they just immediately come at you and challenge all your assumptions.
They really do.
They start with this this kind of uncomfortable truth. That person you think is your company's savior, the one who's always putting out the biggest fires, that person is very often the single biggest threat to your company's future.
Exactly. So our mission today is to cut right through that flattering story of the superhero employee. We're diving into why that dependency, which looks so productive on the surface, is actually this giant flashing red light that your whole system is broken.
Right. We need to look at the hidden costs, the massive fragility.
Especially in these fields where long-term stability is everything.
And we have to start with this core observation from Steve McGuire, who wrote Debugging the Development Process. His whole point is really simple. He says organizations that get the best, most sustainable results, they do it by debugging their structure, their interfaces, not by just, hoping some hero bails them out again.
Let's unpack that core tension. Because McGuire had this very specific piece of advice for managers that really grounds everything we looked at. He warned them, and I'm quoting here too, be aware of the guy in the corner.
That is such a fantastic metaphor, and it's so important to be clear. He's not talking about personality. This isn't a critique of introverts.
Oh, no.
It's a technical warning. It's a warning about the danger of concentrated knowledge.
Wow.
The guy in the corner is just the perfect symbol for knowledge silos, for all these invisible dependencies, for that quiet heroism that looks great in the moment, but is just corroding your organization over time.
Oh, we've all worked with this person. They've been there forever. They know every single undocumented dark corner of the system, and they are always the first one to jump in when things catch fire.
They're the one-person emergency response team. And on the surface, they always save the day.
I know.
But here's the critical pattern, the thing that turns this into a trap. And the source material is really clear on this. What does that superhero never do?
Right.
They never prioritize developing other people. They'll fix the fire you hand them right now, but if you stop and you ask for the deeper context, if you ask how to stop this from happening again or why the system even works this way,
You just hit a wall.
you hit a wall. They are optimized for the immediate fix so they can get to the next fire.
And the outcome for the organization, the cycle just repeats itself instantly. New incident, new fire, the hero jumps in. It's this perpetual motion machine of dependency.
Which means, as the sources all emphasize, you don't just have an employee problem. Your entire organization has a deep, deep system design problem.
And that system design problem has a truly terrifying but very precise name in engineering that just captures the risk perfectly.
It does. It's called the bus factor.
I find that name so unsettling, but it is brutally effective.
It is. The definition is simple. How many people have to be removed from your project before the system becomes completely unmaintainable?
And by removed, you mean, they get hit by a bus or they just leave or get sick.
Exactly. Any kind of removal. And in a true superhero culture, where one person holds all that critical knowledge, that number is almost always one.
And what's so scary about that is how invisible the risk is. You feel totally safe. You feel productive right up until the second that person is gone.
Right. The system is one job offer, one case of burnout, or one sudden illness away from being crippled.
And the sources had a really powerful story about this, a high-stakes example.
They did. A key expert, the organization's main superhero for a critical piece of infrastructure, got really sick, was just unexpectedly out of the office for more than 6 months. And overnight, the company realized the viability of their entire system was basically resting on one person's health.
So when that person was gone, what did the rest of the team even do? What was that immediate realization?
Well, they realized they didn't just lack knowledge about the domain, they lacked the most basic operational knowledge. The sources say the team spent weeks just trying to find the main configuration files.
Oh my God.
Weeks! Just trying to understand all the undocumented ways it could fail, all the dependencies that were just stuck in the hero's head for years. I mean, that is the definition of organizational fragility.
And this dependency, it creates a kind of technical pollution, right? It's not just about the risk, it's about racking up massive amounts of technical debt.
Absolutely. We have to understand why it creates fragility. The hero's job is to fix the symptom and fix it fast. They get paid in praise and bonuses to keep the lights on.
Right. They're not rewarded for taking a step back.
Exactly. They are explicitly not rewarded for pausing to refactor the system or to write documentation or to clean up the messy code they had to write to get the fix in quickly. They optimize for short-term speed, which just accelerates all this debt and complexity behind the scenes.
Okay, but here is where the story gets so fascinating, and it really gives us the blueprint for how to solve this. When that crisis hit, when the hero was actually gone for 6 months, something surprising and positive happened.
It did. It forced this moment of profound organizational clarity. The developers who had been on the sidelines or kept in the dark about this complex system, they suddenly had to step in.
And they rose to the challenge.
They rose to the challenge, learned the domain incredibly fast, and most importantly, they took collective ownership of it.
So instead of collapsing, the system actually started to become more resilient. And that whole process revealed this critical truth about complexity that we often get wrong, especially with legacy systems.
This is the crucial truth. Very few systems, even really complex software, are intrinsically too difficult for competent engineers to understand. Most of that perceived difficulty, the kind that seems to require a hero, it doesn't come from the technology itself. It comes from 3 organizational failures.
Okay, let's lay those 3 out for everyone listening.
First, technical debt, which we just talked about, the hidden cost of all those quick fixes. Second is tribal knowledge.
The stuff that only exists in conversations in memory.
Exactly, never written down. And third, just the complete systemic lack of documentation.
So complexity isn't a feature of the tech. It's a symptom of bad process.
Well, I love that.
And so when these fresh eyes came in during the crisis, what did they start doing that the busy superhero never could?
They started to simplify because they didn't have that institutional memory of why everything was a mess. They just looked at it and said, this is too complicated. So they began to refactor, to rationalize the dependencies, to modernize parts of it. They were actively reducing technical debt because they finally had the mandate to focus on structure, not just firefighting.
And this just aligns perfectly with all the research from places like Dora and Google, right? That knowledge sharing and breaking down silos leads directly to high performance.
Absolutely. The Dora metrics are clear. Teams that share knowledge through things like code reviews and shared ownership, they deliver more reliably and they recover from failure way faster than siloed, hero-driven teams. Resilience isn't a nice to have, it's a prerequisite for being elite.
So if that's the big idea, how do you make it practical? How do you actually spread that knowledge day to day? The sources pointed to dynamic pairing.
Right. Dynamic pairing is the mechanism to distribute that understanding. And the sources are careful to say, look, you can't and probably shouldn't mandate pairing for every single task. That's not efficient.
It has to be strategic.
It has to be strategic. You pair when complexity or risk or the need for learning demands it.
So what are some examples? When do you pull that trigger?
You pair when you're modifying a core financial system, for instance, or when a bug cuts across 3 different services that nobody really understands together, or when a new hire is touching a critical system for the first time. It's not about doubling the effort. It's about aggressively distributing that critical context across the team. It's a mandatory knowledge transfer.
That makes so much sense. Okay, let's shift from the engineering floor up to management, because the sources talk a lot about this common and often really damaging impulse managers have when they've got a successful superhero.
The impulse is to save the hero at all costs.
Right.
Management feels like they have to promote them into some special expert role or give them a huge raise or special treatment, anything to keep them in that critical function. It's all framed as retention, but the sources just call this out as a profoundly short-sighted move.
It's a total incentive failure. It's like putting a bandage on a gaping wound. You're just reinforcing the very problem you're trying to solve.
Precisely. It doesn't fix the knowledge concentration or the tech debt or the total lack of succession planning. And even worse, you're creating political damage. You're signaling to the rest of the team that the only way to get ahead here is to hoard knowledge and make yourself indispensable.
Which blocks career growth for everyone else. And we can connect this directly to the foundational texts.
Yeah.
Like the sources bring up Fred Brooks from the Mythical Man Month.
His famous insight. Adding more people to a late project makes it later.
Right.
But that's about the short-term cost. The dependency on a hero has an even bigger long-term penalty. By optimizing for that one person, you're choosing short-term speed over long-term maintainability, and critically, you're putting your own intellectual property at risk. The knowledge exists outside the system.
But I know the argument managers make. You hear it all the time. Nobody wants to work on the old legacy system. Only the hero can stand it.
That is such a common misconception, and the sources tackle it head-on. They explain it's not that developers don't want the work. It's that not every developer can succeed in that work. It requires a specific, higher level of engineering maturity.
What does that maturity look like in practice?
It's patience. It's a real curiosity about how systems fail. It's the discipline to map out these complex, tangled systems piece by piece. You need engineers who see it as a giant puzzle, not a punishment. If you throw junior people into that, you're just setting them up to fail, which then validates the manager's original wrong idea.
And this is where it gets inspiring again. What really excites a professional engineer, according to the sources, it's not about whether the system is new or old.
Not at all. It doesn't matter if it's ancient or written in Lisp. What matters is the mission.
The mission.
Absolutely. Does the system keep trains running on time? Does it support critical medical workflows? Does it process millions of transactions? That mission is what motivates professionals. Legacy complexity doesn't scare them. What scares them is waste, bureaucracy, and working on things that don't matter.
Okay, let's bring it all together. If you're a leader listening to this right now, how do you get from that fragile, hero-dependent state to one of real organizational resilience? The sources lay out a pretty clear roadmap.
The first step, and it's the hardest one, is you have to stop rewarding hero behavior. Stop rewarding the frantic, last-minute firefighting.
And instead, you reward the things that actually create stability.
Exactly. Reward knowledge sharing, great documentation, calm, predictable processes, and stable delivery.
Second, you have to mandate rotation and pairing, specifically where knowledge is concentrated. If only one person knows a system, that's not a success story for them. It's a profound leadership failure.
You have to use those fresh eyes to actively pay down technical debt. That new person sees the complexity for what it is, a problem to be solved. And finally, you have to change the framing. Make working on legacy systems a career opportunity and not a punishment. Frame it as a mission.
So ultimately, the core takeaway is pretty simple. Your job is to build professional capability across the whole team, not to cultivate dependencies on a few rock stars.
Heroes make noise. They create short-term relief. Professional engineering makes companies sustainable.
The story of that system, how it almost collapsed and then rebuilt itself, it showed that the problem was never about individual talent.
Never. When the superhero disappeared, the team was forced to step up. They grew stronger, and they actually modernized the system faster than it had been in years.
The knowledge was there all along. It was just locked away. The lesson for you, the listener, is that the system you design is what dictates the results and the fragility you get.
Which brings us right back to that final provocative thought from Steve McGuire that guided this whole deep dive. If your organization depends on the guy in the corner, you don't have a hero problem. You have a system design problem.
So we invite you to reflect on that question today. What system in your own professional life or your team's life are you depending on a single hero for? Start building resilience, not dependency.
Until next time.
On the Deep Dive.
Thank you for listening to the Agile Engineering Deep Dive podcast. If today's episode gave you new insight into working across teams or highlighted the role of discipline in achieving real agility, feel free to share it with your colleagues or your network. You can find the full written article along with previous episodes in the Agile Software Engineering newsletter on LinkedIn. And if you have thoughts, questions, or examples from your own organization, I'd be happy to hear from you. Your experiences help shape what we explore next. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode.